Here we have a bit of Rambo engineering. I'll explain a little bit about what I mean. Just a quick glance, that's my machine lamp held up with a bit of Rambo engineering elastic hookup stuff, because the joint, that joint's stiff enough, but that joint there is a bit slack, and so is that one. That must take a lot of strain. Might do something better later. It's what I call my heat lamp, because it's got an old-fashioned incandescent bulb in it, which gives off quite a lot of warmth in here. Now what this is it's the innards from a battery drill. The battery's knacked. So there we go, inside of a drill. So I've taken the drill apart. What have I done? Well, taken the casing, thrown it away. I've put a tie wrap around this part here to keep spring tension onto the disc that is used to adjust the torque setting, and I found one of the torque bits. What you'll find is, if you pull it apart, is that little billets like this will fall out. I don't know if it's different on other drills, but anyway, they go into notches inside this gearbox arrangement to provide you with your torque setting. Then I've just soldered a couple of wires onto the terminals on the motor. It's tie wrapped. Then, I hacksawed and filed into the case a little bit there. As you can see, that plastic there is proud, and I wanted to be able to get this square piece of tooling. It's just a square piece of, I think it's 1/2 inch blank tooling. Just sawed and filed into there so that this sank into it a little bit. Got it roughly leveled up, wedged it a bit with a piece of wood at this end, put the tie wraps on to hold it, and then hot melt glue. So the hot melt glue is on there, top and bottom, and then I've tightened up the tie wraps. The disadvantage of that is it does overhang the back there, and it's sharpish. So that's a disadvantage. It's not going to, as I say, disadvantage, but it won't be a huge job to find a slightly different piece of material to enable me to clamp it up in the tool post. And then I've got my trusty power supply, which I use to ring my bell. It's 0 to 24 volts, Farnell 24 volt, 4 amp power supply, Chinese variable voltage regulator, output from that, and then with the regulator set to its lowest, it does actually rotate, and then spins up nicely, and there's a reasonable amount of torque. I don't know if that's, a reasonable amount of torque. It's not the highest torque motor on there, but of course I can crank this up if I want. And you know what? It's free. So if I overdrive the motor or whatever, it's not the end of the world if I burn the thing out. Okay, there we are. That's what I call Rambo engineering. Not the sort of precision machine engineering that you see from other guys. It's not going to be as stable or solid or strong as some of their things, but I'm hoping it will allow me to do some positioning of something in the chuck, and then with the carriage, which I've locked at the moment, there we go, just to be able to go up and do a little bit of drilling around there, using the chuck just as an indexing device. Don't know, it's pretty obvious what you're doing there, but I guess what we all are waiting for is for me to test it out on something and show that it is actually worthwhile, that it holds together when under, well, I'm not going to be putting very much force on it because I know what it's made from. But under light loads, I think it will do a job for me. Oh, I've just done it because I've got a particular job I want to do, that's all. Drill some, machine out something. Just a minor thing. Before I applied the hot melt glue, and while these were just sufficient to hold it in place and I had the wedge in, I did line this up by racket fee, which is what we say in Yorkshire, or by the rake of the eye, so that it was along the centre line of the drill, and hopefully that means that the drill, when it's in there, will be horizontal to the lathe bed when clamped into here. I've not tested that yet, but with this sort of a setup, you know, there's a possibility of that not being right, but the hot melt glue combined with these straps does hold it really quite firmly, just to, I can't shake it, let's say. So it is held not quite by well, no, just by lining it up with anything I could find to line it up with, to get it as straight as possible along the centre line of the drill. And that's the only, what should I say, metrology bit that I did for lining up. The fact that I packed it out so that it was this way in line isn't so important, because of course you can adjust that. You can adjust its orientation in that direction. It's the orientation up and down that you can't adjust with this tool post. Update on my bit of Rambo engineering. I've stripped the old piece of tooling off because it wasn't on the centre line of this. Obviously I want it to be fixed in the right plane there, and it will move in the horizontal plane to give me my holes at whatever diameter or radius I want them from that centre, and then equally distance spaced around. So there's a drill in here into there, so that's clamped onto there. And now what I'll do is I'll move this piece of tooling up close to it. I can put some tie-ups around it and put some hot melt glue to get it supported so that is on the centre line. There we go, fairly obvious thing. I should have thought about it before attaching these two things together, but now hopefully if I do it, I'll end up with it in the right position. That was totally way off where I had it before.